Hi everybody, we are doing our second video of the second semester, video number 14, and what we're going to talk about today is what does it mean that Jesus fulfilled the Old Testament. Last semester we spent time walking through each Old Testament covenant, and Jesus did not come to abolish the Old Testament at all. He came to fulfill it, and a lot of us, however, don't understand what that means, to fulfill it. What fulfilled means is we used to have a bunch of laws. In the Old Testament, there are 613 commands that were given, and ancient Israel literally just didn't obey them. One of the things that was said is they would not be able to follow these rules because their hearts were hard. Most of us are familiar with the 10 commandments that were given to Moses on Mount Sinai, but the 613 commands are written in the Torah, and they were given to ancient Israel. So for us, does that mean that we have to obey all of these laws? Some of them, none of them? When Jesus taught about the Torah are the books of the Bible that are the laws revealed to Moses. These are the books that the Jewish people kept really close to them. He was bringing the stories of the Old Testament into the New Testament and fulfilling them. In the Old Testament, God was creating people who could fully love, and Jesus fulfills this. We can follow this. We follow this through the Old Testament stories, how God is leading people to fully be able to love. God created Adam and Eve, and they sinned, they fell. Abraham was chosen to bless all of the nations, and as we know, even with him, with their bond, he fell. He couldn't hold up his side of the covenant, but God still stayed true. God made a covenant with Moses on Mount Sinai. Moses also screwed up. Israel was meant to show all the other nations what God was like by obeying the laws, but they didn't obey them. Moses gives them laws about things like don't worship idols, and he literally gives them a law, don't worship idols, and they run off immediately and worship idols. And they continue to break the laws in the Old Testament. In the conclusion of the Torah, the laws given to Moses, Moses says that you have shown, all of you have shown that you will not follow the laws because your hearts are hard and you need new hearts. In the book of the prophets that follow this, in the book of Ezekiel, they tell us that when God changes the people's hearts to love, they will easily be able to follow the commandments. So what does that mean? The best example I can give you is because I'm married. So I have been with my husband. We met in high school, we dated in high school, and we got married. So I graduated from college, and we got married 10 days after I graduated. We have been married now for 13 years. Now, there are rules associated with marriage. You know, don't cheat, those kind of things. I don't cheat on him. I haven't cheated on him, and it's not because I haven't been given the opportunity to cheat on him. It is because out of love, I follow the rules that I know that benefit our relationship. So I don't stay faithful because I'm afraid that I'm going to get caught or anything like that. I stay faithful out of love. And because I love him, I see these rules associated with marriage as a good thing. And, you know, this is kind of the same thing that happens when we truly love God. It's very difficult if people say, here are your rules, follow these rules, but you actually don't have a bond, you don't have a love for God. We don't follow God's rules out of fear of punishment, out of fear of going to hell or anything like that. So I see the good in God's laws, and I love God. And if you follow God because you don't want to be punished, that's not going to get you very far. Out of love for God, I see the good in not allowing myself to be jealous and, you know, not wanting what my neighbor wants or not stealing. I can see the good in these rules because I love God and I want to have a relationship and a bond with God. Now, Jesus saw himself as continuing the stories of the Old Testament where God was changing the people, changing their hearts, where God is changing their hearts and growing them to be more capable of love. Our hearts seem to easily produce bad fruit. It's really easy for us to think of ourselves, to be selfish, to be very prideful. The commandments, however, so we know the list of the 10 commandments, at least most of us do. Love God, love your neighbor, be respectful of your parents. When Jesus is asked what the greatest commandment is, he cites the first commandment, which is love the Lord your God more than anything else with your heart, your soul, your strength. And then the second commandment, which was not one of the 10 commandments given to Moses, he says, love your neighbor as yourself. So the 10 commandments, they say things like don't kill, don't steal, and Jesus kind of ups it, because we can see how not killing somebody is showing them love, or not stealing from them is showing them love, but to actually love somebody as you love yourself, that really ups it. And that is these are the two laws that you are meant to live by. Jesus is telling us that true love must extend to everyone. And how did Jesus fulfill this? He showed us who God is, and he loved his enemies up to his death. And, people have taken it upon themselves to define good and evil, and that's not really awesome of us. But anyway, I want to switch gears in talking about this for a second. I kind of have this love-hate relationship with catechesis and prep work that gets you ready for sacraments, because it feels like I'm giving you a book and I'm like, follow these rules and you're close to God, or do these steps and you won't burn in hell, which you're not going to burn in hell. That is not what confirmation needs to be about. And I don't honestly think every single one of us puts up this fake self. We have, I remember being younger, and we all, younger, I'm still kind of young-ish. Anyway, we all have this desire to be cool for some reason. And unfortunately, usually when we're saying we think to ourselves, we want to be cool, we want to be popular. For some reason in our minds, we think, okay, being cool means not being me, not being myself. We create this persona that usually has nothing to do with who we authentically are, who we really are. And, but the deeper core of the question is, why would you want to waste your time being someone that you're not, or being somebody that you don't want to be? And the same exact thing happens when we seek God. And I remember thinking to myself, I really want to be a better person. I really want to be a holy person. I had an epic existential crisis in college, and I wanted to be good. I wanted to be holy. And I would look at people who, in my mind, were holy people, and they were quiet, and they were pious, and, they approached prayer in these very profound ways. And I tried to copy them. I tried to be quiet, and I tried to wake up early and pray and do all these things. And FYI, they just didn't work, because it didn't fit my personality. It didn't fit who I was. And when we look at the 2 commandments given by Jesus that were meant to fulfill the Old Testament, to bring us our hearts to this soft, loving place, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that is an enormous instruction. Love your neighbor as yourself. If I am loving my neighbor, I'm not thinking, you need to be a completely different person because who you are kind of stinks. That wouldn't be loving your neighbor. So why would you do that to yourself? When we love our neighbor, we see who they are as a person. If they are living in a deep sin of hurting other people, we don't necessarily encourage that, but we do not expect them to create a fake self to present to the world. So why would you do that to yourself? We do not need to create ourselves to present a fake us to the world, because that doesn't benefit anybody. We need to kind of let go of this idea that we need to be different than who we are. We also need to look at our flaws and sins differently also. It can be a very humbling and uncomfortable experience to look at our sins. I think that the ones that I struggle with the most are, I'm very angry and impatient, and I can be extremely judgmental. And when we look at these, a lot of us are like, oh, I need to purge that. I can't be that. There are different ways to approach the way that we sin, and it's good to acknowledge them. So I'm my impatience and my judgmental nature, what you can do when you're struggling with these sins, when you're trying to be a better person, a better you specifically, when you feel it come up, address it. When I'm looking at somebody and I'm being judgmental, when it pops into the forefront of my brain, I look at it and I say to myself, well, why am I judging that person? Okay, I disagree with how they see things religiously or politically. And then I ask myself, if I was them, if I lived their life, would I be thinking things the exact same way? And it challenges me and it makes me a better person. Now, when it comes to how we try to alter ourselves and how we put this fake person out for the world to see, there are certain things about myself that I hid, especially when I was a younger person your age. But honestly, when we start to be an authentic self, we start to be the person that we are, you're going to really lose interest in wasting your energy on being someone that you're not. Some of the things that I truly love, I love art. I went to Memphis College of Art. That's where I got my bachelor's degree from. I love painting. I love houseplants. I have over 100 houseplants, and it's kind of a bit of an addiction, but whatever. I am very into Pokemon, which I'll admit to you guys, but I love it. I collect dragon sculptures. I used to hide them because I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to judge me for collecting dragon sculptures. Now I just display them in my living room, and people, honestly, most people don't even seem to notice they're there, but whatever. But things that I faked in the past were things like liking sports, which I don't really like sports. I hate watching basketball. I hate watching football. I like to work out, but I don't really like watching team sports. I don't like makeup. I don't like doing my hair. I'm addicted to Vans, the shoes, but those are just all little aspects of me that I allow to have happen. But also, I'm loud and I'm kind of in people's face, and as my coworkers say, I'm kind of a golden retriever. I get overly excited, and but one thing I noticed is when I let that happen, people were extremely accepting. Now, something else really amazing happens when you start to accept who you are as a person, when you no longer apologize for the person that you are. Again, this is not me saying that I'm an angry person, deal with it. No, that's not what I'm saying. You, as you are, being your authentic self, expressing the things you like. If you're an introvert, be an introvert. If you're an extrovert, be an extrovert. If you like, anime, if you like athletics, if you like band, just let yourself like those things, and it's okay, and be you. But one of the amazing things that happens when you fall in love with yourself, when you see yourself for who you are, God finds you. Where the catechesis, the uncomfortable part of learning all of these things about confirmation that I really don't like, is that when we are focused intently on you chasing after God, you finding God, I worry that you are missing this aspect of you are a perfect individual that God made. He did not make us to be clones of one another, and there's a reason for that, because you're special the exact way you are. And I know that that's super cheesy, you're so special, but the truth is you are. And when you recognize those aspects of yourself, things you like, the way that you act, God finds you in those happiness moments. So it is extremely important for you to identify who you are and let yourself be that person. So here is your 2-part writing prompt. I want you to describe to me what it means, the 2 commandments, that Jesus pointed out. Love God above everything else. So that's number 1. Describe that to me personally. So for whoever you are, answer, what does it mean to love God above anything else? And you can put the, regular stuff like, oh, go to church and stuff, but really, what does it actually mean? For me, my answer would probably be something along the lines of loving God, putting God first means when I see somebody else and I feel that tendency in myself to be like, oh, that person just did this and I disagree with what they did, is to think about that person deeply and be like, okay, if I was given the situation, if I grew up the same way they did, maybe I would be that person, and alleviate that judgmental side. That's how I feel like I'm loving God. Now, when it comes to loving your neighbor as yourself, what does that mean to love your neighbor as yourself? So one, right there, how do you love you, and how does that transition into you loving other people? So for me, I recognize that I'm a little different than other people, and I kind of like it, and recognizing that other people are a little bit weird too, and I kind of absolutely love that about them too. So how do you love God above all else, and how do you love your neighbor as yourself? Those are your writing prompts. So next week, I believe we're going to get into the Eucharist, and then after that, we're going to do our saint video also for the second year confirmation students. So I hope all of you have a very wonderful week, and I look forward to reading your responses. Bye.